It's ludicrous. Hard drive size have been blowing up in size. A few months ago, we saw the 80 gigabyte from Seagate, 100 gigabyte from Maxtor, more huge drives from IBM. Maxtor has upped the ante once again from 134 to 160 gigabytes. The personal storage 3000 XT. Here to tell us about it is our very own Robert Heron. Robert, this is out of control. 160 gigabytes, one hard drive.
Nice. For the ATA bus.
For the ATA bus. So this is actually running. Let's take a step back.
Okay.
Can Windows, if I take the hard drive, this is actually a FireWire version.
It is, an external version.
Okay. Why are they using it? Why do they put this in FireWire instead of selling it to you to install directly in your PC?
They do it both ways. Right now, actually, you can get the 160 gig internal drive, but that, in order to access the full 160 gigs, you actually need to have a PCI card, mainly an ATA adapter, which supports the new standard, which supports the larger file sizes.
This is because, I guess, Windows natively can only support, is it 134 gigabytes?
It's not necessarily Windows. Okay. Windows itself is pretty flexible. It's the ATA standard that was developed for hard drives and connections to and from the motherboard. For that standard, they used a 28-bit addressing system. That was the problem. It was fine up until just recently. 28 bits in ATA addressing when you're talking about addressing spaces to the hard drive. And
yeah, nobody's ever going to hit 130-odd
137 gigs, it turns out, that the 28-bit addressing system maxes out at. And so what Maxtor has done is actually back in PC Expo last year, they introduced the Big Drive initiative.
Right, the big train. It was a very odd logo.
Which essentially what they were saying was, you know what, we need to move this from 28 bits up to 48 bits, and what that will give us is essentially a drive capacity limit that's
millions of terabytes,
144 terabytes, or petabytes, excuse me, which is 1 petabyte.
Sounds so naughty.
A million gigabytes. So it's outrageously amount of storage.
So so you do either have to have a special ATA adapter or a FireWire adapter. Was there a to see the whole drive? Was there any kind of a software patch you had to install, or just install
the cool thing
hardware?
with FireWire, in particular, what makes the external version so unique is the fact that the drive itself already supports the 48-bit addressing scheme. That's set up internally. What they've done is a little bridge board inside of this that connects the ATA bus to the FireWire bus. FireWire is based on SCSI, and SCSI has a 32-bit addressing system. So 32-bit actually works out to about 2,200 gigabytes. Which we hopefully
won't be hitting for 2-3 years.
Internally, the drive's at 48-bit addressing. Externally, it's pushing out to a 32-bit addressing system. So theoretically, Maxtor can make FireWire drives in excess of 2,200 gigs if they ever get up that big, or when they get up that big.
Yeah, when they get up that big. I would have never thought 100 gigabytes. I thought was ridiculous. 160, I never thought I'd see, but it's here.
So the beautiful thing about internal or FireWire versions really is the fact that it is the only plug-and-play interface ever made for personal computers, and you cannot tell me that USB is in any way, shape, or form a plug-and-play interface. I don't agree with that. And just to show you how easy it is, literally, every Windows...
This is the sound of a bitter man that has spent a lot of time testing products. I've sounded like this.
The nice thing about FireWire, in particular with Windows, and of course Mac users already have enjoyed FireWire for a long time, you plug the card in. Since 98 SE and on, the chipsets and FireWire cards are supported natively within the OS. You simply drop that card in, and it works. It detects no drivers to install. And then simply attaching devices, which I'll do real quick here.
And turn that around.
A simple, let me spin that around there for you. One FireWire cable, and that's the power cable right next to it. I'm just going to go ahead and put this in.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's just that simple.
We have 160 gigabytes here.
So that's as long as you have. What operating systems would you use this under? Macintosh compliant, obviously.
Macintosh 8.6 and higher, and in my opinion, anything Windows 98 and above. It is really, really nice.
One last question before we go. Performance, how does this compare to an internal IDE drive?
It depends on your system, of course. The speeds we got across the FireWire port, we were able to burn data to this drive at 15 megs a second, a little bit over that. Reading from it back to the computer, we were able to push over 21 megabytes per second.
That's pretty fast.
That's pretty impressive for an external hard drive. It's good enough for any kind of data handling. The only thing it might not work well with is some very intensive video applications, maybe real-time editing on hard drive-based systems. You'd probably want something a little faster. It is a 5,400 RPM drive inside of there. They will have the 7,200 RPM version down the road, of course. And I bet you're going to be testing when it shows up. Robert, thank you so much. Folks, if you're ready for the latest monster drive from Maxtor, you'll want to learn more, go to thescreensavers.com. We got Robert Heron's complete review. Robert, thank you so much. Anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming up on the Screensavers, Donovan Keith shows us how to animate a walk cycle. Don't move. This is slick. We'll be right back.
Do you sign up at a lot of websites? If you give them your personal email address, you're just asking for spam. You can keep a public Hotmail account for signing up for stuff, and keep your personal one for family and friends.